The night before your wedding is supposed to be a dream. A moment where you sit back, sip champagne with your bridesmaids, or maybe sneak away for a quiet dinner with the person you're about to pledge your life to. I had something similar in mind. I left the rehearsal dinner early. Everything had gone smoothly, everyone smiling, the venue glowing with fairy lights, my fiance, Daniel, charming the guests like he always did. Lily, my best friend since college and now my bridesmaid, had gushed over the details. She had even helped me pick the final touches for my bouquet. But I had a strange feeling in my gut. Call it intuition. Call it a warning. I brushed it off all day, but by nightfall, it was like a fire under my skin. So, I decided to surprise Daniel at his apartment. I had a key, of course. We were getting married in less than 24 hours. I wanted a moment. A quiet one. Just us. So I picked up his favorite takeout, some wine, and walked to his apartment. He hadn't answered my last text, but I assumed he was in the shower, maybe getting ready for bed. I didn't knock. I turned the key and stepped in. The lights were dimmed, but the voices were loud. Laughter, low, intimate, unmistakably familiar. I froze just past the doorway. From the crack between the kitchen wall and the living room, I saw them. Daniel, shirtless, Lily, in my silk robe. They were on the couch, entangled like a couple in the middle of a private honeymoon. My breath caught in my throat. For a moment, I thought maybe I was imagining it, maybe this was a dream. But then I heard Daniel say, laughing, she has no clue. One more day and it's all ours. Lily giggled and curled against him, you'll be married to her and then her business is practically half yours. I didn't cry. Not right then. Something in me turned to stone. I backed away slowly, shut the door quietly, and walked back to my car with the takeout still in hand. The silence inside me was louder than their betrayal. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table, a forgotten cup of tea growing cold in front of me. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness. From fury. Cheating was one thing. I could have walked away quietly. But scheming to take everything I'd built? My company, my dream, had been born from blood, sweat, and sacrifice. It wasn't just betrayal. It was war. I remembered odd things, how Lily kept asking me about our prenup, subtly suggesting Daniel deserved more recognition in the business. How Daniel always brushed off conversations about keeping our finances separate after marriage. I pulled out my laptop and began digging. I remembered Daniel once using my office laptop to log into his email when his was down. Maybe the session was still saved. I typed in the mail address I'd seen him use before, and to my surprise, the autofill did the rest. He'd never logged out. What I saw made my stomach twist. Email threads between him and Lily. Attachments. Plans. Financial projections, my company's financial projections. Drafted prenups with strategically hidden clauses. A message from Lily that read, once she signs it, we can push her out. She'll never see it coming. And then the brand is ours. Screenshots followed. Photos of signed checks. Private information that Lily could have only gotten by going through my desk. Years of trust between us sabotaged. I copied everything. Every single file. Every message. I sent them to my lawyer. I called my most trusted friend, Amira, someone I had kept at a distance lately, mostly because Lily made it uncomfortable. Amira listened without saying a word. Then she said, we're going to burn them, Robin. Not with fire. With truth. She helped me set up a secure backup of everything. She also suggested we live stream the ceremony, not for the guests, but so the whole thing could be captured, documented, and legally useful if needed. I wasn't just going to leave Daniel. I was going to expose him. And I knew exactly when I would do it, during my vows. Because if they thought they'd ruined me, they didn't know who they were dealing with. By morning, I had made peace with it, at least, the kind of cold, calculated peace you make with betrayal when you have no other choice. The decision wasn't emotional anymore. It was strategic. I stood in front of my full-length mirror wearing the dress I had dreamt about for years. A designer custom piece I'd paid for myself. And as beautiful as it was, it now felt like armor. I didn't tell anyone, didn't call off the wedding, didn't confront Daniel or Lily. If they could play a long game, so could I. I would give them the show they wanted. But the ending? That would be mine to write. My lawyer, Rachel, worked fast. We drafted new contracts, freezing any business rights Daniel might claim post-marriage. Just in case. My business was fully locked and airtight. No matter what signatures I gave, he'd end up with nothing. Meanwhile, Amira helped me put together a discreet presentation, one that would play in the background when I read my vows. Our photographer, who had a secret crush on Amira, eagerly joined the plan, offering to switch the preloaded slideshow with ours when the time came. I spent that afternoon writing my vows. Every word carried weight, truth wrapped in grace. I wanted the room to realize what kind of betrayal had taken place. But not through rage. I wanted them to hear it straight from my heart, calm and unforgiving. I practiced reading it once and teared up, not out of sadness, but because for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw power returning to my hands. Let them think I was the fool walking into a trap. They didn't realize I was the one holding the detonator. The venue looked like a dream. Candles flickered. White roses everywhere. The smell of fresh eucalyptus filled the air. Guests buzzed with excitement, many of them high-profile names from both my business and Daniel's circle. This was supposed to be our society wedding. Daniel stood at the altar, flashing that signature confident smile that used to melt me. Now I saw through it, charming on the outside, rotting inside. Lily wore her bridesmaid dress like a queen without a crown. She was calm, smirking slightly every time our eyes met, like she had already won. The music swelled. The doors opened. And I walked down the aisle slowly, deliberately, like a queen walking to her throne. Not to her husband. Everyone stood, and I could hear people whispering about how stunning I looked. But I barely heard it. My eyes were locked on Daniel. He reached out for my hands, and I gave them, but lightly, not like before. Not with love. The officiant welcomed everyone, spoke briefly about commitment, love, and promises. Then came the vows. Daniel went first. He launched into an over-rehearsed monologue about destiny and how from the moment he met me, he knew we were meant to build a life together. He said something about mutual dreams and building an empire. I had to force myself not to laugh. And then, it was my turn. I took a deep breath, turned to the crowd, and nodded toward the AV booth. Our photographer nodded back. The screen behind us flickered. I wrote these vows thinking about love, I began. About trust. About what we build together as partners. But last night, I learned that trust is more than romantic, it's a foundation. And when it breaks, everything cracks. On cue, emails started appearing on the screen behind me. I continued. I found out that the man I was about to marry and the woman I trusted most, my bridesmaid, have been having an affair. Gasps echoed around the hall. Not only that, I said, voice clear and calm, they've been plotting to steal my business, my work, my name. Everything I built. Behind my back. I turned to look at Daniel. You plan to marry me, Daniel, only to sign contracts and push me out of my own company. Lily, you fed him my financials, my passwords, my vision. Lily's face went pale. Daniel tried to speak, but I lifted a hand. It's all here, I said, pointing to the screen. Emails, contracts, voice notes. I was going to marry you. Instead, I'm setting myself free. I turned to the officiant. There will be no vows today. There will be no wedding. I looked out at the crowd, calm and composed. Thank you all for coming. I apologize that this won't be the celebration you expected. But for me, this is the beginning of something far more important: honesty. A stunned silence fell. Then applause. Soft at first, then louder. People stood. Some in support, some in shock. Daniel looked like a man struck by lightning. Lily had already run out, sobbing. I walked down the aisle, this time not as a bride, but as a woman reborn. By the next morning, the video had gone viral. Someone in the crowd had recorded my vows, the speech, the projection screen, the way Daniel stood frozen while the world crashed around him. It spread like wildfire on social media under the title, "The Bride Who Exposed Her Cheating Fiance at the Altar." Hundreds of thousands of shares. Millions of views. I was getting emails from news agencies, talk shows, women's rights groups, and even a book publisher. But all I could think about that morning, sitting in my silk robe with a mug of black coffee, was how quiet the house felt. Empty, yes, but also clean. Peaceful. No more secrets. I spent the next few days sorting out the technical aftermath. Canceling vendors. Returning gifts. Working with my lawyer to finalize the legal side of the company's asset protection. I signed an order that permanently removed Daniel from all contracts tied to my business. He had no access. No stake. Nothing. That same day, Amira sent me a screenshot from Lily's Instagram. Her account had been bombarded with thousands of hate comments. She had deleted all photos from the wedding and posted a vague black square with the caption, "People don't know the whole story." Oh, but they did. Daniel lost several business deals. 2 major investors pulled out of his startup, citing a lack of ethical leadership. Turns out, being caught red-handed trying to scam your future spouse isn't great for business. Mutual friends? They chose sides. Most chose mine. The few who tried to stay neutral soon found Daniel's defensiveness and Lily's victim act unbearable. The best part? The wedding venue refused to refund Daniel's half of the deposit. They cited breach of moral agreement. Turns out, betrayal voids more than just trust. But of course, that wasn't the end. They came crawling back. It started with a knock on my door. A week had passed since the wedding that wasn't. I opened the door to find Daniel standing there in a hoodie and jeans, holding a bouquet of wilted roses. He looked nothing like the polished man who once charmed a room. He looked defeated. "Robin," he said, voice hoarse. "Can we talk?" I stared at him for a long moment. Then stepped out, shutting the door behind me. He sighed. "I messed up. I know I did. Lily, it was a mistake. I thought I wanted something different, something fast. But it was you. Always you." He held out the flowers. I didn't take them. "You didn't just cheat," I said coldly. "You schemed. You planned to marry me and take what I built. You were going to ruin me." "I didn't mean to." "You did," I snapped. "You meant every part of it. You were counting on me loving you enough not to notice. Or to forgive." His face twisted. "Everything's gone. My startup's in shambles. I lost my partners. Investors think I'm a joke." "Good," I said, voice like steel. "Then you know what betrayal feels like." Daniel looked down. I thought maybe we could talk. Start over." I took a step back. "You want to start over because you have nothing left. Not because you're sorry." He didn't argue. A few days later, I got an email from Lily. Subject: "Can we talk?" Body: "Robin, I know what I did was wrong. I was jealous of everything you had. The company, the confidence, the way people looked at you. I didn't mean to hurt you, I just wanted a piece of the light you always carried." Please, can we talk? I didn't reply. The same week, she showed up at my office. My receptionist blocked her from entering, but I saw her from behind the glass. She looked like a shadow of herself, skin pale, eyes bloodshot, clothes hanging off her frame like she'd lost weight from shame. She mouthed, "I'm sorry." And I believed she was. But that wasn't enough. She wasn't sorry when she laid in my bed, in my robe, with my fiance. She wasn't sorry when she stole company files or mocked me in their emails. She was only sorry now because everything crashed and I was still standing. Later that night, I posted something to my socials. Forgiveness isn't owed. It's earned. And some debts can't be paid back with apologies, only distance. The comments were flooded with support. Some said I was a hero. Others said I was ruthless. I didn't care. Because I had survived. Not just the betrayal, but the illusion. And now? I was free.